Hey, it's Benjie Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio, welcoming you to another edition of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org, for more info, or you can email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Hedin Daubenspeck. We'll be discussing his book, Pony Ride to an Awakening, The Journey of a Mystic. Available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble. An audiobook for the book will be available very, very shortly. Or if you guys want to get everything that Hedin has to offer, do yourself a favor. Don't stop at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Go directly to his personal website, ponyridetoanawakening.com. There, not only will you be able to find more information on Hedin, you'll be able to find the book as well as being able to purchase it directly through that site. So one more time, that's ponyridetoanawakening.com. And I will say, Hedin was brought to People of Distinction today by some of the best movers in the business, ReadersMagnet Publishing. If you have a book that you'd like moved, well, move it to ReadersMagnet. You can find them at ReadersMagnet.com. And guys, it is an absolute pleasure to have Hedin here on the line with us because, listen, the book we're going to be discussing today, Pony Ride to an Awakening, The Journey of a Mystic. Listen, it's all about having a spiritual awakening. And really, what better time to have a book of this magnitude on our show than given everything that's going on, right? Listen, we're all spending a lot of time at home. This pandemic is absolutely wreaking havoc across the board, and you know it and I know it. So why not spend this time educating ourselves and really having that spiritual awakening, expanding ourselves and growing spiritually that way? And as I stated, listen, Hedin is the expert on the matter, okay? He's going to be able to answer all of these questions and bring out all the nuances much better than I ever could. So without further ado, let's bring him here on the line with us. Hedin, first and foremost, thank you so much for being a guest with us today on People of Distinction.
Thank you.
Hedin, listen, we're very much looking forward to this. Let's jump right in. Before we start on the book itself, tell our listening audience a little bit about you.
Well, I'm an old farm boy, grew up in Oklahoma, got into my college with a business degree, became a CPA. Always been close to nature. I turned 70 last week. I've dedicated my life to spiritual development.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Well, listen, happy belated birthday, Hedin. Thank you very much for spending the time with us. Now, Pony Ride to an Awakening, The Journey of a Mystic. Tell us a little bit about your book.
My book is partly autobiographical and partly informational. I wanted my book to be an encyclopedia of consciousness, a guidebook to spirituality.
Now, you say that you wanted this to be a guidebook and really a spiritual encyclopedia. All of that sounds great. Can you elaborate more? What exactly do you mean by that?
Well, I've lived a lifetime, and I spent 40 years in the library, and I have 19 years of education. And between the books in the library and the academic education, I learned a lot of facts about consciousness and spirituality. Mm-hmm. But nowhere in my reading or research did I ever find a how-to book. Exactly, how do you do this? What's the process? And after this dedication of effort, I decided to write my first book as how do you do it? What's the process?
Fantastic. Now, in your mind, Hedin, why do you think that it is important for us to reach and achieve a spiritual awakening? I mean, what positives would come from that?
Well, you know, a lot of our life is living according to the standards of society. We're indoctrinated sometimes as children in our family in a religious dogma. We enter into the academic system learning the worldly knowledge. But something inside of us is restless. Something inside of us is speaking. We're hearing an inner voice. We're living according to expectations of the world, but something inside of us wants to reach out and be original.
Mm-hmm.
The awakening chips away from that indoctrination, and it lets us be free. Be free to fulfill the purpose we came here to fulfill. That's the greatest accomplishment of awakening, is to let us be free.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Now, let's go into the title, Hedin. A Pony Ride to an Awakening, The Journey of a Mystic. Now, I guess I could assume really where that title comes from and why you decided on that. But talk to our listening audience, since we have you here. How does that title hold significance to what the story itself portrays?
Well, I was a farm boy, grew up. We went to the nearest church, which happened to be a Protestant church.
Mm-hmm.
And I had all of the indoctrination. But as a young teenager, 13, I was out riding my pony in the meadow, and I had a spiritual experience. I experienced ecstasy, and it changed the direction of my life. It gave me the freedom to trust my inner voice and to know that God spoke to me and to know that God and I are one. And Pony Ride to an Awakening is out of respect to that experience out in the meadow riding my pony.
Let's go into inspiration. Now, you've already started to go towards it, and you really just gave a fantastic description on really what inspired you to embark upon a journey of this magnitude towards your own spiritual awakening. Now, really, inspiration, of course, as you know, can take multiple parts. So, A, what inspired you to write this story in addition to what you've already stated? And then B, what inspired you to become a writer and embark upon a creative journey of this magnitude?
I got a phone call about 6 years ago from the president of the University of Philosophical Research in Los Angeles.
Wow.
And Dr. Harris asked me to join the master's program. And I was 64 years old. And I decided, why not? And I joined the master's program. So in the program for consciousness studies, like every graduate level, there was much writing required: psychology, philosophy, religion. And in my writing, I had to dig down deep inside myself and find those stories and those experiences and write about them. And very cathartic, too. It was very healing for me to reach down deep and share personal trauma and stories. And I realized that writing them was a very healing thing for me, and that my stories are not that different than other people's stories. And if I could share them with the world, people could see my writing and resonate with, yes, I've had this experience. I've not had that one yet, but maybe it's coming.
You know, and following off of that, I mean, what a great segue that you just laid out for us. Now, we know the curiosity and why you wanted to really formulate that connection with those around you and really other people in the world, really other people in our human family. Now, why was it important to you? I mean, what benefit do you feel others would have been able to receive from this book? And it was something in your mind that had to be written so that they would also be able to partake in this journey.
I spent a lifetime, over 30,000 hours in the library, studying spiritual information, Buddhism, Taoism, Hinduism, Christianity. And I had learned many facts about the wisdom of the world. And that was my desire. I wanted to know all the wisdom the world could bestow upon me. But in all these years of study, I've had to personally experience each step, each initiation, each transformation, each step on the journey out of my own personal experience. I had no teacher. The books were not very informative. And after a lifetime of self-learning, I thought, let me make this easier. We need a book on what might you experience in your spiritual awakening. what might be a personal transformation that you have to go through? Do you have a dark night of the soul experience? I wrote my book to be informative of the experience of awakening.
Again, here on the line with Hedin Daubenspeck, we're discussing his book, Pony Ride to an Awakening, The Journey of a Mystic. Available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or directly on his personal website, ponyridetoanawakening.com. Now, Hedin, this has been absolutely fantastic thus far. Listen, my audience is going to get upset with me if I don't hurry up and ask this next question, okay? So let's go right to it. Now, you talk about this book being filled with tips, right? It's a guidebook, a spiritual guidebook to really amassing that awakening and embarking upon that journey. Now, we don't want to learn all the tips because, guys, you know what you got to do. If you want to learn all of the ways that Hedin is going to coach you through this spiritual awakening, you know what you got to do. You got to go pick up the book. There's no way around it. But Hedin, we'd love to hear some tips that you have for maybe our listening audience that is wanting to embark upon a spiritual awakening, is wanting to be more, in touch with their spiritual nature, but doesn't really know how to embark upon that journey or really how to approach it. Any tips that you can offer to really help coach us along that way?
We often hear that really if you only study one good book, you can reach enlightenment. Well, sometimes we think maybe the Bible could be that book, but it's so confusing and complicated and difficult. It's a challenge to dig down below the stories and understand the story behind the story. Well, my book itself could also be a path to enlightenment. I offer you practices, philosophies, experiences, meditation techniques. The most important path to enlightenment begins with trusting yourself. Trust that intuition. You have a higher voice. Listen to it.
Wonderful. There it is. Next question, Hedin. What type of research did you do in preparation for this book? Now, we know, you told us the story about how you entered into this master's program and, you kind of delved into that. Now, in addition to your own experience, in addition to your own research, what other research did you do in conjunction to really prepare for this book?
Well, there's one chapter in the book that I share on Buddhism. It's called the Eightfold Path. Buddha taught four things. Life is suffering. There's a cause of suffering. There's a cure for suffering. And then follow the Eightfold Path to reach enlightenment. And so I share in one of my chapters the Eightfold Path, which is a practice. Buddhism's a practice. It's not a religion. And I had to research that. I also include a chapter on what happens between death and rebirth. What is the mystery after death until we return to a new incarnation? And I wrote a chapter on all the things that happen to us after death. First of all, consciousness continues after death. We're exactly the same person after death as we were before death. We have the same consciousness, the same knowledge, the same thoughts. It's a great mystery. And so I try to take away some of the veil from that mystery.
Just that last concept in and of itself is so profound, right? The theory of consciousness continuing after death and how we, listen, our physical lives may have ended, but that doesn't mean that we cease to exist. That in and of itself, I think, is such a profound theory. Guys, get out there and get the book. I mean, what an amazing concept. Now, listen, Hedin, as we start to tie up this fantastic interview that we've been able to have, and again, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm curious to know, what was a highlight for you in writing this book? Or if not a highlight, maybe something that surprised you that you weren't expecting prior to embarking upon this journey?
Well, I've known for a considerable time that consciousness continues after death. Well, my dad passed away 10 years ago. He was 103. And my
Wow.
dad was a fatalist, and he thought, when you die, that's it. Close the door, it's all over. Well, surprise, surprise. After my dad's passing, he and I started having conversation. And he could hear me, and I could hear him. And he was quite surprised that his consciousness continued. And I think it was quite a delight for him. And we enjoyed having our conversations. And it was he realized that his belief during his lifetime was simply wrong. That was a surprise to me to have that experience.
Whoa. Indeed, this, man, listen, it just keeps getting better and better. Guys, what more can we say? Get out there and pick up your copy of Pony Ride to an Awakening, The Journey of a Mystic by Hedin Daubenspeck, available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or directly through his personal website, ponyridetoanawakening.com. And remember, the audiobook for this narrative will be out very, very shortly, so keep a lookout for that for any updates, because you surely will not be disappointed. As we started off this interview by saying, listen, guys, this is the time to really maximize the opportunity that we have to really educate ourselves, right? To better ourselves, to achieve this spiritual awakening that Hedin has been focusing on. And what a great book, what a great guidebook with the tips to help you achieve that. Hedin, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being a guest with us today on People of Distinction.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. I just wanted people to get an idea that with this book, they could gain some new understanding. I mean, these are things that are in the back room that people don't talk about, but let's talk about it. Let's bring it out. Let's research.
Absolutely.
And I hope that my interview caused them to ponder.